How many a-holes we got in this thread? I'm surrounded by a-holes. Do you get it? Oh, anyway, whatever. Story 1. My hag of a stepmom gave away my PlayStation 4 while I was away in college, so I rented out her house while she was on her honeymoon with her newest husband. I am an only son. My mom died of ovarian cancer at only 55 years of age. It broke my dad's heart. They had been together since college, and they were the same age, with my dad being a month older. I'm 22 and about to graduate college with my degree in chemistry, where the main events start to occur. I went to college on a full-ride scholarship. This is important later. My dad met my now stepmom when she was my mom's nurse at the hospital where she spent her final days. My stepmom, Grace, played all the right notes to gain my dad's trust. She was empathetic to him, nurturing, comforting after my mom passed. I was 17 and old enough to sense that she was just trying to weasel her way into getting my dad's resources, but it was up to my dad if he wanted to be in a relationship with her. I was in my final year of public school and had just won a scholarship to attend college out of the country the following year. My dad mourned my mom for a year, and that whole time Grace would check in on him by phone every month or so, in my opinion, to scope out the possibility of sinking her hooks into him. After a year passed, Grace took the gloves off and went hard after my dad. Grace was only 40 when she and my dad started seeing each other. I didn't like her, but at the same time, my dad at least didn't seem too depressed anymore, so I tried to be less pessimistic about her and give her the benefit of the doubt. In my gut, I didn't trust her, though. But we are Scandinavians, and at least in my family, the son does not tell his father what to do or even offer any opinion. Grace is from the Czech Republic, if you're wondering. My father was a very successful banker during his career and amassed quite a portfolio of wealth. I'll spare you the details, but after 6 months of dating, Grace and my father are married. My dad never really got over my mom, though, and he was getting weaker and weaker even though he was only 57. Since his health was fading, he called me to him and asked me point blank, "Boy, what do you need to set you up in this life?" I told him I don't need anything. I'm a man and can take care of myself, but what are you even talking about, Dad? You're going to be around for decades. I did remind him that he had living sisters with children, my aunts and cousins. I also reminded him that I had a full scholarship to college, so don't worry about giving me any cash. He was dead only a year later at 59. I, of course, have seen lots of Hollywood movies, so I consider the conspiracy theory that maybe my dad's nurse's wife poisoned him and made him sign over all his money to her, but I really honestly do not think that's what happened. Other relatives didn't like Grace either, but they knew my dad was totally in love with my mom and that her death utterly broke him. Well, long story short, my dad bequeathed his 5-bedroom house to me even though I wasn't expecting it and didn't ask for it. He gave a small endowment to each of his sisters and their children. He left about 80% of his existing money to Grace, which amounted to several hundreds of thousands of dollars. My dad ignored me because he's generous to a fault and still gave me several tens of thousands of dollars, which were, of course, very useful to me. Grace tried to put on a friendly front, but I could tell she was angry as hell that she didn't get my dad's house, too. That belonged to me, and I had the legal papers to prove it. She was especially mad because we live in an extremely upscale and trendy location, and houses are hard to come by and easily sold for massive profit. During the first few months after my dad's death, I had the nauseating, creepy experience of knowing that Grace was trying to feel me out to see if I might be into a little relationship with her. Gross. She still stayed at the house, though, because over the last 3 years, she had gotten used to living there and acted like she owned it. And even though I officially owned it, I was always away at college and only visited my dad's old house once every couple of months. And even then, it wasn't to see Grace, but to see my cousins who lived just a few miles away. I downplayed the fact that it was really my house, and over the months, I think Grace gradually forgot that she really had no legal right to the house. She probably believed that sooner or later, because I never asked her for any of the hundreds of thousands of my dad's dollars that she now had, that I was somehow independently wealthy and would just give up my house to her. I knew I'd eventually hydrogen bomb this bee when she started dating some new guy only 5 months after my dad was in the ground, and one time when I came home from college after graduating, she and her new boyfriend, some sleazy-looking D-bag named Ivan, who was only a few years older than me, were acting like I was a guest in my own house, that they owned it. I played along. Grace told me she gave away my PlayStation 4 to Ivan's cousin because I'm too old to play video games. I don't even know this mother effer, and you give him my PS4 to some other crap who I also don't know? I quickly changed all my network passwords the same day. I smiled, but I knew what I had to do eventually. She also said that she and Ivan were getting married because I just can't mourn your father forever. I have to move on with life. I tell her that I graduated college and already secured employment with a local firm and will soon find a new place to live. She looks thrilled, especially the part where it looks like I'll soon have a new place to live. Then, in a patronizing way, she tells me, "You always have a place in our house, though. You're welcome to stay whenever you please." Thanks, Grace. Really generous of you. What I really say is that I will probably have a new place in 3 months. She says that's wonderful because she intends to go to her homeland and have a wedding with Ivan and afterward have her honeymoon. She assures me it's a local affair, otherwise I'd invite you, honey. And anyway, I know you're so busy. I congratulate her. She asks me if I can watch the house for her. Watch my own house? Sure. What I really say is, of course I'll take care of the house. I'm careful to not say your house. She and her D-bag fiancé, who I'm 100% sure is only there for Grace's money, go on their trip and I immediately put out advertisements in rental websites offering to lease my house. I hire movers and have all of Grace's furniture and possessions boxed up and put into a storage rental facility. I retain all of my parents' furniture that they had before my dad met Grace. Locks? Changed. All of them. Within days, I am inundated with dozens of inquiries regarding my amazing furnished house with fantastic views. I rent it to a wonderful young family, a barrister and his school teacher wife, and their 2 preteen children. They pay me their first and last month's rent and sign a lease for a year. I warn them about my crazy stepmom who thinks this is her house, but I present them with contact information to my lawyer, the same lawyer my dad retained, in case they need any assurance that I'm on the level. I also gave my lawyer the information about the storage facility, including the fact that I generously paid 4 months of storage in advance, which is a whole month longer than Grace's Czech honeymoon adventure. I then found a great apartment in the city near my new place at work, where there I met a woman in a restaurant I frequent at night after a long workday. We've been dating 6 months now and are engaged to be married. Grace, of course, tried to shriek and cause trouble when she realized she got kicked out of my house, but my lawyer quickly shut her mouth without me having to even speak to her garbage face again. From what I hear, she and her trash husband left the country, and I assume they're blowing through my dad's money and will soon be broke, like chavs usually become when they take a taste of a little bit of what they think is the good life. So maybe Grace will go and try to exploit some other lonely man into giving her his money. Speaking of money, the house that I rent is generating so much money that not only am I able to help pay for my cousin's college, but I moved into a larger apartment of my own together with my fiancé. I love my job, but really, I could survive solely on renting my dad's old house. And to think, if Grace had only been cooler and nicer, I might have let her stay at the house just to be a good sport, and definitely if she stayed the hell out of my room. But no, she had to act all proprietary, so I had to make her homeless as a wedding gift. Postscript. I bought another PS4, even though I didn't use my old one all that much. It didn't matter. It wasn't for Grace to give away. You don't give away other people's things. You give away your own things, which is why I chose to kick Grace out of my house, because it's mine, and I decide who stays there. Well, I'm afraid, as you said, first off, it is your house to do with as you please, and Grace was clearly kind of ignoring that fact a bit with the way that she was acting. She gave away some of your stuff, which I would say, not quite equivalent things, but certainly a good catalyst for this to happen. And finally, she got hundreds of thousands of dollars. She could go and put at least a down payment on a nice house or outright buy a house in a place that's less expensive to live. She got plenty, so the fact that she was trying to, act all huffy about that house and everything, no, I do not believe that you are the a-hole. It definitely sounds like Grace is the a-hole. Whether or not she was even more nefarious and you're being very generous with her, who's to say? I am very sorry for the loss of both of your parents in this situation. That part is pretty much what sucks the worst, that not only did you lose your parents, but then had to deal with the fallout that was Grace. and you certainly should not have had to deal with that. So, yeah, no, you, not an a-hole. Grace, an a-hole. Ivan, I mean, he's got to be at least part a-hole, right? I don't know. I mean, you know what? We'll give Ivan a pass. Ivan, you're all right, but you may turn out to be terrible. Who knows? Story 2. Am I the a-hole for pretending to get fired when customers get a temper with me? I'm a high schooler with a weekend job at a coffee shop. My co-workers who work weekends are James, the owner's son. He goes to my school. He's a shift manager, but it's not a real formal thing. He's a friendly guy. Danielle, a college student who sometimes works weekends too. So sometimes customers will come in and just be angry about such little stuff, like literally blow up about nothing. I don't know if they're in a bad mood already and looking for someone to take it out on or what, but it's a lot. Like, how sad so you have to be to a grown-up man taking your anger out on a high schooler and college kids. So James and I were joking about having a little fun with them and hopefully getting them off our backs. So one day I was at work and some guy was having a temper about how we don't make the coffee hot enough, which I couldn't do a thing about because I gave it to him right out of the machine. So James came in and was like, "Sir, is there a problem here?" And the guy started ranting at him too. So he was just like, "OP, this is unacceptable. You're fired." I started acting real sad, like, "No, please don't fire me. My family needs the money. I need this job, please." And he played up being a hard butt, telling me to take off my apron and leave. The angry guy started to backtrack, like, "It isn't that big of a problem. You don't need to fire her over it. I didn't mean it." And James was like, "No, we pride ourselves on the best customer service." Of course, after all that drama, I still had my job. We were just acting, and we've done it a couple of times. Whenever a customer will lose their temper at Danielle or I, James will storm in and fire us. Almost every time, the person who had come in angry will apologize and say that they didn't mean it. It's kind of satisfying, making people realize their actions might actually have consequences. Anyway, I was telling my friends from school about this, and a few of them thought it was a mean prank and to let someone go away thinking they'd gotten someone who desperately needs the money fired. Am I the a-hole for this joke? No! You are not the a-hole! At all! These customers are being a-holes, and granted, I get it. Customers, you're having a bad day. This is some person who they've done one little thing to just set the fuse, to flip the mousetrap in your head that makes you go all angry. And you don't know them, so you take it out on them, even though they don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. They don't deserve your crap. They're just there for customer service. They don't control the stuff you're mad about 99% of the time. But you take it out on them. And that's why you deserve what you get. You deserve to feel that bad because you know what? There are situations where people get fired when you act like that. When you come in doing all this stuff and making a huff and talk to a manager because of something that this other person, this poor employee doesn't control, there are a-hole bosses that will fire people over this stuff. So don't act like that. Don't be an a-hole. And then this stuff won't happen. If you're not a jerk, then this joke would never have been played on you. So I'm sorry. The person playing this joke, you're not an a-hole. You're a hero. You are literally making these people question their behavior, and very likely they might treat employees better in the future. You're doing a service. And so, no, your friends need to calm down. This joke is not too mean, because these people deserve to feel kind of bad for treating employees that unfairly. It would blow my mind that anyone would question this, you know. The one thing that really worries me in this story is that you say most customers will feel bad. The fact that there are some customers, I can only extrapolate from this, that see you get fired and they feel good and justified about it. Holy crap, ban those customers from the store. What awful people to be happy that some poor person got fired and feels terrible because of, I'm certain, something so absolutely minor. Ugh, I do not want to know those people at all. Ugh. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.